portal, a means of connecting with my higher self and with the universe and with God and all of that, and just connecting with my intuition. That's what it is for me. So it's like more of a medicine thing for me. It's more of a spiritual tool. And for some people, it can be drugs. It can be fun. It's fun for sure. It can be drugs. It can be something you do at a festival. Like, it's always, a good time. So it can be any of this. But where am I going with that? So anyways, there was a lot of research on this back in the, before the 70s. There was plenty of research going on around psychedelics. And then in the US, President Nixon had begun the war on drugs. I learned a lot about this in school around, the absolutely no drugs allowed. You're going to go to jail for everything. Definitely not as intense as the Philippines. Like, learning about the Philippines war on drugs, I'm like, I laugh at the war on drugs in North America because it's nothing compared to out here. Like, out here, people were getting murdered on the street. That's a whole nother story. And this was more recent too. Anyways, the war on drugs in North America, particularly the US, but definitely in Canada as well, it impacted. So people were, around the 70s, 60s, 70s era, the studies of these, of this medicine on mental health completely stopped. Everybody stopped because they were going to go to jail if they continued to look into this. So unfortunately, it took about a couple decades of just nothing, and everything had to be put on hold. And it was very stigmatized because of this. So then fast forward to, say, a decade ago or so, give or take, a few years, it started to pick back up again. As you know, that over the last, I don't even know how long it's been, but it's definitely picked back up. And over the last 10 years or so, it gets more and more and more. So much research now, and so a lot of decriminalization, legalization in certain countries, right? So luckily for, in Canada, it's decriminalized. There's still stigma around it. There's still the view of this as drugs, not medicine. And so, and we'll see how any pushback comes with talking. I know a lot of people are really open to this subject, and not everybody is, but, I'm just going to talk about it from my perspective. So that's just like the tiny little bit of, that's the tiny little bit that I wanted to talk about it. It's really good for your mental health, your spiritual state, your connection to yourself, to, your entire life can change from this one experience. You do it one time, it can change your entire life. It is more than likely to change your life, because it changes the way you look at reality. It changes the way you look at yourself. It shows you things that are in your subconscious that you don't know, that you don't even think about. It's almost like taking a dive into your dreams. I don't know if you have looked into your dreams at all. I've been working on this. Like, I write down, I try my best to write down my dreams every day when I wake up, because I really want to be in touch with what I'm dreaming about. I really want to remember. I want to look back at it and say, why am I dreaming these things? Because this is my subconscious talking to me. This is my higher self trying to speak to me and tell me what it is that I know deep down. My higher self knows that my conscious brain is not aware of. And think about all the wisdom that comes with that. Like, my higher self is more connected to the universe than my physical conscious self is, I believe. So yeah, where was I going with that? So yeah, the spiritual effects of it. So definitely, I mean, and if you're not a spiritual person, I just think that a lot of, I've heard a lot of stories of people who are not spiritual becoming spiritual after trying these, or people who never believed in, say, a god now believes in God after. Not in a religious sense necessarily, but God as in the way that I talk about it. I don't know, God's different for everybody, but even just something like, I didn't believe that there was something more to this world than physical matter, than just us being, pieces of meat on a floating rock. After doing psychedelics, a lot of people have said that their perception changes on that, and that they now believe in that there's something else going on here. It may not be a God that's up in heaven, but there's something else going on here. There is, a universal consciousness. There is something connected between all of us, all people, all trees, all things. So, I mean, these are things that I already believe, and I don't, and psychedelics have played a role in my belief in these things and my mindset, my mind frame around these. But I was also raised by a fairly spiritual mom, and my mom has always been quite spiritual, and so I believe a lot of the things that she has always believed, and just kind of taught us around this. I was also homeschooled or life schooled. It's kind of a hippie thing, but we didn't learn the regular school system. I can talk about this in another episode if you're interested, but a lot of what I learned is around like spirituality and this kind of ways of looking at life. So, of course, this is right up my alley, doing these, experiences of psychedelics. And this is why people kind of laugh at me when I tell them that I wanted to be a police officer throughout my life. For anyone that doesn't know, that's what my plan was over the 10 years, just like for about at least 10 years of my life, up until like about a couple of years ago. That was my plan. And this, and I don't even know where I'd be if I continued that plan, but this, I would not be able to be talking about psychedelics. I probably wouldn't be able to be doing them. And that would have changed my whole trajectory of life, because these have contributed to my mind, the way that I operate in this world, and just my personality, my energy, my aura, everything. It's not everything for me. Like, of course, it's not my entire persona. It's not my entire personality. Definitely not. But it has contributed a lot to the way that I see the world and the way that I show up in this world. It's really impactful for me. And I've seen what it has done for other people as well. Microdosing, just to throw this in there as well, while I'm on that subject. I've seen microdosing as that's kind of a way of doing a small amount every other day or however often, and it doesn't do anything that you can notice, but behind the scenes of your brain, it rewires things, and it's like it's a much healthier, natural way of kind of taking, say, an antidepressant. Like, it's so. And I've seen personal experience. I've seen this work for people in my life who have tried this, and so I'm a huge advocate of this, huge advocate of psychedelics. And so now I can talk about more about my experience. So when I was in another island of the Philippines, where I will actually be going back with the tour group, I was able to take mushrooms. They do grow out here. You can just pick them in the wild, and I didn't pick them myself, but a friend kind of helped me out with that. But so I did it on my own. I did it also the same batch, because I had a little, like, enough to do it twice. I did it once with a friend. The second time I did it alone, like a week later, because I knew when I was with him, I was like, it was a really great, really awesome experience. And also I was like, oh, okay, well, I have more. And I'm like, okay, this time I'm going to do it on my own, because I think it's such a different experience. Very, very powerful. And doing it on your own is not for everybody, because some people maybe aren't ready to be with themselves in that, like, to sit with yourself in that context is quite intense. It was very intense, very sometimes overwhelming, but in like a really amazing way. I felt like I was in a movie. I mean, I always feel like I'm in a movie, you guys. My life really feels like a movie. There's always so much like unbelievable things going on that I'm like, what is going on? Am I in a movie? Like, this can't be real. So I always kind of feel like that. But this was next level. This was definitely to the next level, the way that I felt. It felt like the climax of the movie that I've been playing, where I'm the main character and I'm honestly unstoppable, invincible. Maybe not invincible, but unstoppable is a better word. Yeah. I felt, of course, divinely connected with the universe, with myself. I was crying at many points of the day just out of pure joy, out of just pure gratitude. Like, it was if I had to put one word to that day, it was gratitude. It was transcendence and gratitude. And I was just so grateful. And this was also this was actually on the 2nd of January. So it just began the new year. It was the most amazing way to end to end 2022 and to ring in 2023, because I was able to reflect on the last year in complete, like, I can't even use another word other than flabbergasted. Like, I was just flabbergasted by all of the things that have happened over the last year, which I made an episode about last week. All of those things, and then also to be so excited and for the year coming up. And yeah, I was just sitting there in complete, looking at this amazing view of these mountains in the Philippines, and just feeling completely abundant, like feeling like the entire universe is mine, because in a way it is. Like, it's mine, it's yours, it's all of ours. But I feel like at this moment, I felt like I had the answer to life. Like, I had the answer to this game. And I actually was asking myself, is this a game? Like, maybe it's not a movie, maybe it's a game, because I get to change the story whenever I want. I get to change the script. So is it more of a game that I am playing? And if so, I seem to be winning. I seem to be winning this game of life right now, because everything is just working out so well for me, so beautifully. And just, yeah, so it's hard to explain. I could never really explain to you what it's like. It's like trying to, I'm quoting Joe Rogan right now. I heard him say, like he was talking with somebody who's never done psychedelics, and like they're having a conversation, and he's kind of like, all right, I can't even really, like, trying to explain this to you is like trying to explain what sunlight is to somebody who's never left their basement, who's been raised like in their basement with no light, no sunlight. It's not possible. Like, it's trying to explain color to somebody who has never seen color before, or somebody, like, to explain a sunset to somebody who's been blind their whole life. So it's really difficult to explain these things, the way it feels, the way that it looks and sounds like and is. But all I can really say is I was so connected to my intuition and to my creativity and to God or the universe, and that divine power that I feel so connected to all the time. But it was, of course, completely next level. And during this, I had a lot of memories coming up for me, like, in the first, like, couple hours, I was dancing, I was singing, I was crying, I was painting, and I, journaling a little bit, and just, having a lot of fun, just completely blissed out. And then as the day went on, no, it wasn't night, it was day. As the day went on, I had a lot of thoughts coming up, like certain people were coming up in my memories, or just in my brain, certain names were coming up that I'm like, oh, interesting, like, this person keeps coming up in my brain, like, I haven't thought about them in a long time. And then in that moment being like, there's a reason for this. I know there's a reason for this. I actually started writing down some of the names because I wanted to remember later, like, why did this person come up? I'm going to reach out to them after this. See, like I was saying before, your subconscious is very present during this. So you're able to reach into that subconscious mind. And if you're lucky and you can remember later what it is that you were thinking, it can be really powerful. There's a reason for everything. There's a reason for all of what happens in this process. So I did that. I wrote down some names that were coming up, but I had a lot of memories coming back from my life back home and my upbringing, not just over the last year, but just over my life. Like, certain memories came up that were kind of interesting. Like, oh, I wonder why that memory is coming up. It's kind of random. And I wish I could remember all of them, But something that I really took from this one big thing was I felt